Ryan Presley is a Chicago Cub. Let's go.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making us your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day. Listen or watch every day. Subscribe on YouTube. And if you are watching on YouTube, then like the video and comment anything below. I forgot I changed the open and closing a little bit last week. Today's episode is presented by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. I am solo today. Sam and myself are actually both under the weather. Me a little healthier than Sam, as we wish him well and exchanged a few texts with him today. I have a feeling as this week is trending, there might be more solo episodes, whether it's him or I off than we realize. So we'll just see how it shakes out, but hopefully Sam and myself feel better as the week moves along. Big Cubs news here to open up a week. According to multiple reports, the Cubs have agreed to a trade with the Astros for relief pitcher Ryan Presley. This was actually first reported way back on Thursday by USA Today's Bob Nightingale, who said the Cubs were on the verge of acquiring Presley. And it was confirmed Sunday by ESPN's Jeff Passan. In between there, Presley was weighing whether or not to waive his no-trade clause. He had a full no-trade. Him, his wife, his two young kids live in the Houston area. So whether to uproot his family for the sake of a fresh start on the north side, ultimately, he did view that was worth it, and we'll get into that part of it throughout this segment. We're also going to break down and update the Cubs bullpen depth chart and really the entire opening day roster, as a couple roster moves since we last recorded, including the Cubs agreeing to terms with Jon Berti, a super utility man. And so we'll give you details on that later in the show as well. Ryan Presley has been one of the best relievers in baseball for the last several years. There's no other way to put that, including as the closer for the Astros World Series team in 2022. Presley is a 12-year veteran, spending the last 7 years with the Astros with an ERA never reaching over 3.58. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting, and not by coincidence, I guess, that 3.58 ERA in 2023 was his last year as a closer, following the Astros signing Josh Hader about 1 year ago. As a setup man in 2024, his new role, Presley posted a 3.49 ERA. With these three marks that certainly grab your attention, and not for good reason. The lowest strikeout rate since 2016, highest walk rate since 2017, and highest hit rate also since 2016. So it's been many years since Presley had these low or high of marks, depending on how you look at it. And the Cubs no doubt know about this, but reports are mainly from the Athletics, Sahadev Sharma, Patrick Mooney, also the Astros reporter for the Athletic, Chandler Rome, describe the Cubs knowing these concerns, being aware of them, but not overly concerned about them. And we'll get into some reasons why in a couple of minutes. But in terms of breaking down the trade, as we're getting more details here in real time here on a Sunday afternoon, for the Cubs, this is a clear upgrade to a bullpen that lacks experience, and I would almost say severely lacks experience. Whether you want to call experience being in a big game, just the volume of innings as a major league player, whatever it is, as the Cubs entered the offseason, it was really light on options. And since the offseason opened up, they've traded for Eli Morgan. They've signed Caleb Thielbar. They've signed Colin Ray. They've now traded for Presley. And I just want to get this in now because I think it would be a good note that we'll also revisit in segment 2. Sahadev and Mooney are reporting that one of the other names that has been connected to the Cubs, which we'll get into those deets later, it does not preclude the Cubs from adding one of those dudes in free agency, and which makes sense if you break down the payroll situation, which is everybody's favorite topic. But Presley not only offers experience, but he would be by far and away the most accomplished pitcher in the bullpen, and one of the most accomplished players on the whole team. 17 postseason rounds to his name, 1 World Series title. Gives the Cubs a proven option and high leverage that manager Craig Counsell no doubt wanting. And Jed Hoyer made clear last weekend at the Cubs convention was one of his primary goals the rest of the offseason. Just a matter of days. He's checked 2 of those boxes in Jon Berti and Ryan Presley after telling reporters and Cubs fans last weekend at the convention about upgrading the bullpen and the bench. So Presley, at some point in the process here, deemed that him waiving his no-trade clause for this fresh start was worth it. You know, he was displaced as the closer for the Astros by a formidable one in Hader. But Presley, one of the more decorated Astros of this great run, this really a prominent era in their entire franchise history. And he goes from the 9th inning to the 8th inning just in one day after they signed Hader last winter. And yeah, it was an up and down year as the setup man, but now he immediately becomes the closer for the Cubs. And, you know, I would caution folks to personalize this, because I used to do this too. And I think just getting exposure more and more, and Sam and I covering this team on a daily basis, I try to personalize it less. What I'm trying to say is my guess is that there's a lot of questions right now to people listening and watching. Hey, what's going on with Porter Hodge? Or even stronger language, what's wrong with Porter Hodge? I would caution that type of personalization. There's nothing wrong with him. We're really excited about Porter Hodge as a fan base. He flashed many bouts of excellence last year. Did he have his struggles? Yeah. But as we exited the 2024 campaign, I find it hard to believe that a Cubs fan would sit in their chair and say, oh, I'm worried about Porter Hodge. No, that's just not the case. But for this Cubs team that is clearly in win now mode, as evidenced by their first trade with the Astros last month in blockbuster fashion for Kyle Tucker, were they really going to open the season in March with Porter Hodge in the 9th inning? And the answer now is no. Is Porter Hodge going to pitch the 9th inning this year? Yes. But right now, he's more in that 7th, 8th inning pocket, but certainly still viewed as a high leverage arm. It's not that there's anything wrong with him or they're trying to replace him, but the fact is he was a rookie last year. And so to get a proven veteran here, albeit one that had struggles last year and might be trending in not a such exciting fashion, Presley immediately gets the 9th spot. Now, that's on paper. Anything could change. But what it becomes now is, okay, here's Tommy Hotovy. Here's Tyler Zombro. Here's this whole Cubs pitching crew that can help with some of this stuff. Right away, my instinct is, okay, his fastball usage is going to come down. Presley really is like a lot of the Cubs pitchers that are on the 40-man. He throws about 92, 93, tops out 94, 95, and he has a lot of cut ride action. So my guess is that how can we get the fastball velo up a tick? And regardless of that, don't be surprised if his curveball usage goes up, if his slider usage goes up, and things of that nature. And this is also the last year of Presley's contract. So I wouldn't completely disregard the human element here either. If he's the Chicago Cubs closer that makes a run and that hopefully makes the playoffs, and he stays as the closer the whole time, that's huge for him as he enters free agency next winter. It'd be huge. Let's get into some details of this contract. I think probably between Thursday and Sunday, in addition to Presley considering, okay, do I actually want to uproot my young family, would be the contract just on the Astros end. The Cubs don't need to pay all of this $14 million a year because the Astros really wanted to trade him. And so my guess is that the two teams will follow a similar structure as the Cubs and Yankees did for Cody Bellinger. I think the Astros, as I just look for some updates here as I'm recording, I think the Astros are going to eat at least $5 million. And I'm seeing some rumblings that it's going to be more. So if that's the case, the Cubs are going to send over, someone either that is stuck on the 40-man, right? Someone that's out of minor league options, or even a lower piece than that, potentially a single A level pitcher or position player. So minimal return here for the Astros as they seek salary relief. And I think when it's all said and done, the Cubs will be on the hook for at the most, I would say, 9 M's. And to get Ryan Presley for 1 year at $9 million, that's a market rate. And I would say at that number, for someone who has this type of resume, it does excite me a little bit. It does. And the other part of this is that Jed Hoyer at the $9 million with some money to spend might not be done, because with Presley and Berti now in the fold, let's say it is Presley for 9 and Berti, we know it was for 2 M's for 1 year. Well, that would put the Cubs, according to Fangraphs right now, this is in real time, at about 209 M's. We know they're not going to go to the first threshold before opening day. And let's be conservative and just say it's 225. Then that's 14 M's, to play around with before March 18th in Japan. So let's go over the current bullpen and some of these possible free agent options that the Cubs still could acquire right after this. Today's episode is presented by our great partners at Game Time. Whether it's a Cubs game, a comedy show, or a concert, I love going to live events. Now, Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. With clear last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of MLB tickets. The experience of searching for, then buying tickets on Game Time is simple. Plus, Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy, so know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? Game time. All right, we're back here on Locked On Cubs. Breaking news edition, really. Cubs acquired Ryan Presley in a trade with the Astros, and it's going to be a small return from the Cubs. Now being reported, it is pitching minor league pitcher Jon Bello, Bello, Bello. And the Astros are also going to send cash over to the north side, also being reported now at least 5 M's of cash. All right, let's take a look at this Presley situation, how it impacts the bullpen and possible next moves in the relief corps out there for the North Siders. Since we last published an episode, right, even before the Presley news, David Robertson and Ryan Stanek were again connected to the Cubs. With Presley now being acquired, I think Stanek would be a better pairing, as Robertson is not dissimilar to Presley. Robertson also throws 93. He's heavy cutter, heavy curve, heavy slider like Presley, while Stanek sits 96, 97 and tops out at 99. And the Cubs still don't have a lot of people who pitch that way. They just don't. They don't have people that throw hard. They really mostly, out of this comical number of relievers on the 40-man, I say comical, but there's obviously a method behind what they're doing. They're really similar to Presley. 92, 93. And so if they're going to get someone else, especially as a free agent ad, I have to imagine it's a guy on a 1 or 2 year deal, and that guy throws hard. That guy has a high strikeout rates. And really anybody that does that for a 1 or 2 year deal, I just don't see why the Cubs won't be interested in a person that has shown the ability to do that. And you might be asking, well, Matt, why make a trade for Presley? Why not just sign Robertson if they're similar? Well, first of all, they're probably getting Presley at 9 M's. Robertson's going to be 9 plus. We'll have to see how that plays out. But the other thing is, it really is a staring contest with these relief pitchers right now. And it might be Hoyer seeing an opportunity here, take advantage of the Astros wanting salary relief for Alex Bregman or otherwise. And also that the relief market might just not be trending in their favor. It's a player's market right now. And so I do wonder about that. So, I like the Stanek connection. His results last year were not high leverage-esque by any means, ERA in the 4.8s. But strikeout rate was still pretty good. And, last year he signed a 1-year, $4 million deal with Seattle. With this type of market, maybe he does get closer to 6 or 7 for 1 year. We'll just have to see. So let's take a look at the opening day roster right now. This includes Ryan Presley and Jon Berti. This was updated on the 26th of January. It's never too early to look at a roster. So everyone gets knocked down a peg in the bullpen. And then I think since we've done this last, I've also put in Luke Little's name because I forgot he made the opening day roster last year. So if he's healthy this year, and we saw what he could do on a Major League Baseball field last spring before he got hurt, I really would like to see him in there. And I don't see why he wouldn't be the strongest candidate, right? Why I just don't. I was convinced to not put Rob Zastryzny's name in there anymore. So Luke Little has a spot. Colin Ray has that a bullpen spot as well as a long reliever swing man. I got Assad as the 5th starter. But you see what Presley does in terms of knocking people down a rung. Since the last projection, Julian Merriweather is off the roster. He'll be in a battle with many, many others to maybe get a bullpen spot. But you feel good about the first 4 names for sure in the pen: Presley, Hodge, Miller, and Pearson. And Caleb Thielbar they just got, so he's a lock to make it. Eli Morgan they just got, he's a lock. I see 7 locks in the pen, right? Am I doing this correct? I think so. 7 locks, including Ray. So really that little spot there is up in the air, whether it's Rob Z, whether it's one of their minor league signings. But I have to imagine if given the choice, especially going to Tokyo for 2 games. Although, maybe this is the March 27th projection, but got to imagine they're going to want 2 lefties out there. And I just think as we pay closer attention to spring results, things like that, I put Little in there. So you also see Jon Berti in there, and that's in place of Vidal Brujan, who's still on the 40-man, but the Cubs are going to have to knock 2 dudes off the 40-man once the Berti and Presley moves become official. So I think Brujan's in jeopardy. I think a guy like Matt Festa is in jeopardy. Maybe Merriweather could be in jeopardy. Rob Z, Canario, perhaps. If they decide Brujan could be the 5th outfielder. Keegan Thompson might be a 40-man casualty. So we'll see how that plays out. But right now, that's the opening day roster, including Gage Workman, who the Cubs got in the Rule 5 draft and would have to open the season on the team. Otherwise, he would need to be returned to the Detroit Tigers. All right, coming up next, a few details on Jon Berti. Stay tuned. We're back here on Locked On Cubs. We're going to close out with a few details on Jon Berti. Last week, the Cubs agreed to a 1-year, $2 deal with the utility man. The 35-year-old has experience at all 4 infield spots and all 3 outfield spots. Wow. Due to multiple injuries, Berti played only 25 games for the Yankees in 2024, but did appear in the playoffs. And in those playoff games for the Yankees, Berti played first. So maybe he gets some starts at first against lefties instead of Michael Busch. Could the Cubs be done adding to the bench because of Berti's ability to play first? Maybe the next addition is another reliever. And with the Marlins, though, so despite the only 25 games last year, the numbers with the Marlins were solid. Berti led the league with 41 stolen bases in 22. And then in 23, in 133 games, he slashed 294, 344, 405. So Berti's a guy who could play all over the field. And depending on Nico Horner, could start at second or third those first 2 games in Tokyo. Otherwise, will be a nice bench piece if healthy. All right, thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us 20 to 30 minutes. We'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or 2 along the way. Be sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and leave a 5-star review wherever you're listening to us. All right, we, in some form or fashion, of the Matt and Sam formation. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm Matt Cozy, and this is Locked On Cubs. Parker?
See ya.